Putin goes all in, because recently the Ministry of Defense of Russia announced that the next conscription cycle, which will most likely start on April 1st, will involve recruiting 400,000 more people. In one way or another, the majority of them will be tricked into going into Ukraine. And the reason for this, it is because Ukrainians are rapidly depleting the Russian forces, especially in the east, along with their military vehicles. And the Russian authorities, they just already want to present at least some kind of victory to its people. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's go straight to the point and see some most recent footage. And today we once again begin with some ridiculous Russian propaganda. And as you can see right here, there is a stack of cards which is specifically designed for the patriots. It has pretty much everyone, obviously Zelensky, Arestovich, Poroshenko, Yanukovych and some other Western leaders. But okay. Because next we have the statement by one of the biggest Russian propagandists, Margarita Simonyan, and she said that Russia indeed, they did win against Ukraine in only 2-3 days, as they wanted, and they did it by taking Gostomel. Basically, that's what she said, because this was enough apparently to win in this war. And then she said that right now Russia is not fighting against Ukraine, because right now the main war is against NATO. Okay, next we have Ramzan Kadyrov, who is also denying all the allegations that he is critically ill, while appearing in this video at least slightly swollen. And he said that this device on his finger is not some kind of a medical device. It is only the device which tracks how many times he prayed during the day. So, well, whatever you say, Don. But okay, back to serious news, and in this first video we can see the American drone MQ-9, which was recently intercepted, or however you wanna call it, by a Russian plane. The American news channel CBS gave us this 3D modeling how this whole situation happened, and basically according to them, the Russian fighter jets were dumping fuel on this drone before eventually intercepting it with one of its tail wings. Next we have a picture from a Rammstein 10 meeting which happened recently, and the topic of discussion was the military support to Ukraine. And as a result of it, the country of Denmark pledged 140 million euros of support to Ukraine, which includes the ammunition. Then we have countries like Norway and the rest of NATO, which will be sending their air defense systems, along with other armored personnel carriers and military vehicles. And then Sweden pledged even more Leopard 2 tanks, which brings the total number of such tanks to Ukraine from 9 different countries to 150 machines. As a part of these agreements, Ukrainian soldiers will also be training with their Western partners, and just for example right here we can see a video of Ukrainians training to be camouflaged in the forest. And yes, that's right, I'm not just showing you this dried grass between the trees, there are actually a dozen of Ukrainian soldiers, so feel free to pause the video or even go back and let me know if you can find at least one of them. Because personally I think I was kinda able to detect one, and this is already knowing that I have to look for them. And so yes, if you also were able to find at least one hiding Ukrainian, can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and also let me know where he was hiding. You can also check my second channel, The Russian Dude Clips, where I upload under 1 minute summaries every single day. The links will be down below. Alright, and now let me give you a brief update from the map of Ukraine before we can talk about Ukrainians rapidly depleting Russian forces. And first of all, according to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, Russians continue to fortify their defense lines, which are deep behind front lines in the Zaporozhye region. Then we go all the way to the north across the border to the city of Belgorod, located in Russia, where recently the local authorities reported some loud noises coming from Ukrainian side. but as you can see from this video, this was the Russian air defense system which malfunctioned and one of the missiles fell near Belgorod airport. Then we go back to Ukraine, where according to the same report, Russians were attacking to the northeast of Kupiansk and then they're focusing along Svatove-Kreminna highway. And then, according to Yevgeny Prigozhin, his soldiers were able to capture a small Ukrainian town called Zeleznevske, which has the population of just 2 people. Next we go to Bakhmut itself, where Russians mainly concentrating their efforts to the north and northeast of this city, and at the same time they are able to take a part of this road which goes through Khromivy under fire control, but this is not yet completely cut off from Bakhmut itself. At the same time, heavy fighting continued to the south of Bakhmut and along the eastern front lines, along this Bakhmutivka river, but reportedly Russians were not able to make any significant advancements recently. We then have a report from the Ukrainian side that they were able to destroy a Russian T-72 modern battle tank located in the eastern part of Bakhmut. And as you can see from this video, Ukrainians were also able to intercept a Russian Su-24 fighter jet next to this city, and the pilot was able to be ejected. All these most recent events only confirm the fact that the advancement of Russians in this city significantly slowed down, and if you remember from my previous video, President Zelensky already gave an order to keep the defenses of Bakhmut, and recently he also mentioned that the defense of Bakhmut must be also fortified. Alright, next we go to Konstantinovka, and as you can see from this video, some loud noises have been reported in this city as well. And as we go all the way down to Avdiivka, recently Russians tried to advance next to Severne, but Ukrainians were able to resist these attacks. Russians also tried to unsuccessfully advance from Kamenka, and reportedly Ukrainians, one single artillery unit, was able to destroy 3 Russian tanks located in Pervomaiske. We then even have this appeal from the Russian soldiers who are trying to reach their military commanders and saying that they are being sent into the offensive without proper weapons, ammunition or any kind of support on their military vehicles, and also they go completely blind without any reconnaissance at all. Which just once again confirms the fact that the tactics of the Russian military commandment are at least 200 to 300 years old. They just send people hoping they will accomplish something. They lose a lot of personnel along the way, as well as military machines. And by the way, this whole appeal video of Russian soldiers is almost 2 minutes. It does have English subtitles, and if you want to see the full version, I uploaded it on my Patreon, where there's still 1 week of free access. The link will be down below. And I mean, because of all this, it's no wonder that Russia is so rapidly running out of forces, right? And so, what will be the solution for Putin? The option number 1 is to announce another, most likely partial mobilization, but this will be extremely unpopular decision among his people. Or the option number 2 is to continue the invasion with whatever forces they have left, achieve nothing, and then lose them as well. Because of this dead-end situation, it looks like that Putin and the Ministry of Defense of Russia, they did eventually come up with another solution, which is to announce another round of mobilization, most likely again partial, but this time they will only be hiring those Russians willing to serve under a contract. Because of this, they think that the regular Russians will be relatively calm, thinking that, okay, if I don't want to go, no one will be able to force me. But as we already know, the Russian authorities, they can always find the loopholes in their own laws that they create and eventually end up mobilizing whoever they want at whatever amounts they want. And so, as a result of this, the Ministry of Defense of Russia will most likely announce the next conscription cycle starting on April 1st, which will be targeting recruiting at least 400,000 more soldiers. But of course, according to the official position of the Russian authorities, such as for example presented by the press secretary of Russia Dmitry Peskov, at this very moment there are no talks about any mobilization in the future. And I mean, I think I discovered their way of presenting things. It's all lies until it becomes true. Because if you remember, just a couple of days ago, people already started receiving these invitations to just visit the military enlistment offices in Voronezh region, and recently the very same thing started happening in Lipinsk and in Penza regions. But these are only the cases which went relatively public, because according to locals all the way across the rest of Russia, at least 16 regions reported that their men started receiving summons to the military enlistment offices. And what they are being told is that don't worry, this is nothing like military related, we just need to check your documents to see if everything matches, and then we will maybe let you go. And so yes, based on all this, what do we have at this very moment? First of all, the losses of Russians since the beginning of this war are estimated to be at approximately 160,000 soldiers plus. Then we had this partial mobilization back in September, which collected 300,000 people more. And let me tell you what, from my personal experience I can tell you for sure that the real number was much higher. And yes, you heard it right, from my personal experience. Even though I'm not in Russia right now, my house was actually visited by the military enlistment office representatives, and they tried to give me this summons to the military, but since I was not physically there, they could not do it. And if you want more information about this situation, I made a video like a couple of months ago, and I will leave a link down below. And so yeah, ultimately right now we have this another upcoming mobilization of at least 400,000 soldiers more. And I am pretty positive there will be some kind of loopholes, which will allow the Russian authorities to recruit much higher number. And so, does this all mean that Putin's willingness to sacrifice close to 1 million of his own people, can this still be called just a special military operation? Does he really care about protecting the people of Russia, who are allegedly, according to him, are being harassed by Ukrainians? Or maybe is it time for him to actually start calling things by their own names, and not mention this as a special military operation, but as an invasive war? But in the end, the truth always prevails and good always beats evil. And if you want to follow with me along all the way until that moment, just feel free to subscribe to my channel, it only takes one click. Alright, and now you already know what's coming. It's time for me to become the radio announcer, okay? 3, 2, 1. And if you want to support my work financially, please consider becoming my channel member, use a PayPal link or become my Patreon. You can find all the links to the right and down below. Thank you so much for your attention, and see you tomorrow.